Hi, I'm Kym Kent, and I am the Algebra 1 tutor here at eXtend Homeschool Tutorial. And I'm here to introduce you to my class. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and I presented a PowerPoint to kind of go through all the information. Before I do that, just let you know who I am. I have been tutoring for a long time. I've got 6 children. I've so far already graduated 3, homeschooled them all. And now I have a in the fall, she'll be a rising senior in high school. I'll also have a 9th grader, and I'll also have a 7th grader. Those are my last 3 that are working through homeschooling. So been doing this a while, been homeschooling in tutorials for a good long while. It's been almost 8 years. So anyway, but again, I'm here to talk to you about the Algebra 1 class. So let me go ahead and share my screen and present to you that PowerPoint. So here we go. I'm going to just go ahead and go through it this way, so you'll be able to see everything, starting from the beginning. Come on, PowerPoint. All right, so there you have it. This is Algebra 1 at eXtend Homeschool Tutorial. And again, I'm Kym Kent, the tutor there. Next, the course requirements for my class: you need to have completed either Saxon Pre-Algebra or an equivalent class with a C average or better. There may be an assessment requirement to determine the appropriateness of this placement. The worst thing in the world to have happen is to have a student come in and they're really not ready for this class. I would much rather have a student take a step back, take the pre-algebra class, get comfortable with the pace of this class, which I'm sure some of you, if you've talked amongst yourselves, know that this is a rigorous class. It is a challenging class. It is designed to get your students ready for life beyond high school. That's what we do here. And this class specifically is geared towards students who are in the 9th grade and above. And you'll see some of that as I go about explaining more about this class. Now, depending on the assessments of the results of the assessment, if I've got to do an assessment, it may be possible that I ask you to participate in summer prep for this class, which I do, and I'll talk about that later. And another possibility is that I may ask you to go ahead and participate in the optional study group that happens in September. It runs along the school year. I have just found that, especially this year was my lesson. I feel like every year I learned something new. And this year was a year that I learned that in some instances, I do need to make that a requirement, that participation in the study group would be a requirement for certain students, not for everybody. But I wanted you to just have that information just in case that ends up being a situation. Most kids actually every kid that I've had study group with has loved it, because we do a lot in there. And again, I'll talk about that in a moment, but I just want to give you just an overview so that you understand what the expectations are. In terms of coming into my class, if I haven't had you in pre-algebra, please do not be offended if I ask you a couple of questions like, what have you been doing? What did you do last year? How did your student do? And have the opportunity to speak with whoever it was, if it was you or whoever it was that was providing instruction for your student. Again, this is not a light class. And my goal is always to help kids continue to enjoy and love math and experience success. But the best way for that to happen is to have the proper foundation. And, if I don't feel like a student has that proper foundation, I'm not going to greenlight them for this class, because what I don't want to have happen is for your student to become discouraged and end up hating math. That is not the goal here. The goal here is for your student to really get some success, to understand that, hey, I can do this, and have the skills and the tools to be able to do this successfully, and then go beyond to the next level and be more and more successful, to experience success upon success upon success. And so that really begins with the foundation. So that's why these course requirements are what they are. Okay. All right, next, the curriculum requirements. We use Saxon Algebra 1, the 3rd edition. The only thing that's required is the student textbook. I know that there are a lot of packets out there, and you can get a test packet. I'm going to tell you now, don't do that. I'll also say that this book is readily available. It's readily available used. So I really recommend you go ahead and get it used. You can go to Amazon, you can go to Homeschool Classifieds, you can go to, we've got a marketplace where a bunch of homeschoolers will buy and sell used curriculum. There are used curriculum fairs happening usually pre-COVID, we used to have that. We'll see if that happens again in the summer. But I really do recommend that you get it used. There's no reason whatsoever to pay full price for anything in my class, okay? And really the only thing that you need is a student textbook. Please also make sure that it's third edition. You'll see in the picture that's here that it says third edition. Do not get any other edition but the third edition, because if so, you'll be getting different questions in different order and all of that. And so it just won't work. So you need to get the third edition. Make sure that it says that. Do not purchase a test packet. I make up my own tests. That I'll talk about that later when we talk about academic integrity. So I create the tests, and also I don't recommend purchasing what's called the homeschool packet. That homeschool packet gives you just the answers to the homework questions. It doesn't go through step by step how to do that, and it also gives you questions for the test. But since we're not using the ones that Mr. Saxon created, I create those tests, that's not going to be beneficial or helpful to you. Optional for use at home is a solutions manual. That solutions manual looks just like the textbook, but it's going to be a soft cover book. It's going to be very thick because it goes through all of the answers for the homeworks. Now, I'm going to say this, and I just need to say it. That is optional at home for the parent, not for the student. Do not give I know it's crazy that I'm even saying this, but do not give your student the solutions manual and say, go do your homework. That is inviting sin. It's inviting deceit. It's inviting academic integrity. That's for you, the parent, to use. When you are checking over, and I'll talk about this when I talk about what the parent expectations are, when you're checking over your student's homework and saying, okay, did you include all the questions? Let me take a quick look and see what you got right, what you got wrong. But that's for your use, not for your student's use, okay? Let me keep going, and then I'm gonna circle back to that point. What to expect in this class. We will complete all 120 lessons in this book. Eyes are probably popping open. Oh my goodness, yes, we're going to do all 120 lessons in this book. Your students are going to be doing all 120 problem sets assigned. We only do the even numbers because the answer to the odd numbers are in the back. Where's the challenge in that? But they're going to be required to do that homework. And there will be times when I'll say, we'll also do question number 9 or do some of the odd questions, because I want to make sure that they've got the skills leaving this class that they're going to need to go and be successful going further. Also know that beginning week 2, students will have a weekly take-home test. That's just, so when you hear that, please understand your students are going to be doing, especially in the beginning, the first 2 weeks, I think we do 6 lessons a week, and then we scale it back to 5 lessons a week. So that's 5 full homework problem sets a week and a test. If your student is not comfortable, or if you're not comfortable with that level of homework being done, please do not sign your student up for my class. I know this sounds crazy. I'm telling you about my class, but again, what I said before is I'd rather your student experience success with math than not. And so that's probably one of the benefits, I will say, of taking the pre-algebra class, is that you get used to that pace, because that's the same pace that we use at pre-algebra. Pre-algebra tends to be the training ground for Algebra 1, not just in terms of content, but also in terms of the work expectation, okay? So again, it's a lot of work. I'm not gonna apologize for that. I can't sugarcoat that for you. You just need to know that it is a lot of work. But your kids are capable of doing that, especially if they have the right foundation. That goes back to why it's important for us to do the assessment sometimes and make sure that this class is appropriate. All right. Next point is that I am going to be using Google Classroom. That's one of the things that came out of this pandemic, was it opened up a world of possibilities. So all the assignments are going to be turned in and going to be graded and returned to you using Google Classroom, okay? And so I will say this to receive feedback, and I'll say this some more when we do our intro, or do the over the summer. We'll be sending my syllabus and my welcome letter, but I just want to make sure that you understand that right now, that if you plan on receiving feedback, and I think it's really important for you to have feedback in my class, Why did something go wrong? Why did something go right? Okay, what do we need to adjust? You will want to submit that work in a PDF format, preferably a single PDF, or a Google document, not a link to a Google document, but the actual Google document itself going through Google Classroom. All right. The other thing that I do have this optional study group that I've done since I started teaching this class many years ago. This year, because of Zoom, yay, we can do this. We're going to do that study group virtually. Every class day, it'll be mid to late afternoon. I've got to determine the time because I'm juggling a couple of things and I'm seeing what my full day is going to look like. And I also don't want to take kids away from other classes. So therefore, that study group is going to meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's going to meet outside of our regular meeting time so that everyone who would like to participate can participate in that. Okay, so just want to make sure that you're clear on that and that you do understand that. Also in this class, I do provide quarterly reports. Well, that's part of the tutorial experience. You're going to get quarterly grades and you're going to get quarterly reports based on the information, based on the work that you've turned into me. So again, I can't emphasize enough that we're doing the whole program. So get used to the idea that, yeah, we're going to do all 120 lessons. All right, next. There we go. The student expectations. It is so important to stay on top of your assignments. Number one, the participation grade depends upon it. And every 4 late assignments, it sounds like a lot, but it's really not a lot when you see we're doing 120 lessons, but every 4 assignment is an automatic 1-point deduction from that participation grade. And participation is 10% of your grade. To me, that needs to be the easiest 10%, easiest A that you get in my class, just turning in that work on time. I will also say that once a student falls behind, it is almost impossible to catch up. And those are the students that unfortunately end up either dropping or having to come and see me in the same class the next year. So please, I cannot emphasize enough the importance of staying on top of the assignments. Number 2, gotta show your work. And I know some kids are like, well, I just do it all in my head, so I'm kind of cool. And I'm going, you can't do that anymore here. That's part of the discipline. You've got to show your work. The reality is when they get out there, especially if they're doing community college or beyond, regular 2 and 4 year institutions, if they show no work, they get no credit, even if they get the questions right. So remember, one of the things that we're doing is we're helping to prepare your student for life beyond homeschooling and beyond this tutorial, okay? And part of that is learning the discipline, and I will say that it is a discipline of showing all the work. There is an automatic half-point deduction. If you get the question perfectly correct and you've shown no work, you're only getting half credit for that. So I'm telling you this up front. These are the expectations. Also, it's an expectation to take notes. I give a lot of notes. There's almost a joke. Mrs. Kent, this is almost like a writing class. Oh my goodness. Yeah, because I give a lot of notes. So why? Because I take every concept that we do and I break it down to the ridiculous, step by step by step, so that truly, if they're just following their notes, following that outline of step 1, you do this, step 2, you do this. If we're, an example is that if we are factoring trinomials, here's your setup, 2 sets of parentheses, an X and an X. That's the start. So when I tell you I break it down, I break it down. Why? Because when it's broken down to the ridiculous, the kids understand it, the light bulbs go off, they realize that, oh my goodness, math is so easy, I can do this. And that's what we're after. All right, so they're gonna be taking a lot of notes. So if your student does not like to take notes, this might not be the right class for them, just saying. All right, the next thing, ask questions. Oh my goodness, I love questions because questions tell me that you're thinking it through. And if you make a mistake, yes. Do you know why? Because with that mistake, we can go through and say, okay, here's where we went off course and here's what to look for and here's how to fix it. Questions are crucial. So in homework, when I'm returning what I'm grading, you may see my little scribble that says ask. That means I need your student to ask. So I'm going to expect those questions. When I say, hey, it's ask time, I'm expecting hands to go up. Mrs. Kent, I got a question on this. Okay, and we'll work through it to get clarity and understanding. All right, be prepared. Be on time for class. I can't, we're in the middle of the day, so that shouldn't be an issue. But I know we're also coming out of snack break, so make sure that you're on time. Have your textbook, be ready to roll. Have questions ready. When you see those asked, they come back. If you don't get 100% on your homework, go back and look at the notes that I write on there and say, oh, I better ask this question. So I'm expecting the students to ask me questions. I can't help them if I don't know where they need help. Okay. The last thing is academic integrity. Please know that with both homework and with tests, it's open book and open note. Why? Because I'm giving you a lot of information. I don't expect you to get it all right then and there. But what I do, so therefore, you're welcome to use your notes. You're welcome to use the book. Okay. For homework, and parents, this is where you come in. You are welcome to say, hey, I need you to go back and look at question number 6 because something went crazy there. Can you go back and take a look at that? And give them the opportunity to go back and rework it. It may be something as simple as a sign issue. They need to be aware of that. And the best way for them to learn is to go and fix their mistakes. And they can do that before they turn it into me. I'm good with that. Now, tests, another story. Tests are still open book and open note, but that's it. What they do is on them completely. Why? Because we got to know I have to know, and you have to know where they are. Where do we need to firm up? What are the things that we need to strengthen? So, it says there, those tests have got to be completed independently. Just your notes in the book. That's it. Okay. Don't go asking, your next door neighbor, hey, can you help me with this test? No, that's violating academic integrity. And that's something I got to tell you. It happens everywhere. Don't think it doesn't happen in the homeschool community. It absolutely does. Probably more than you would, well, whatever. So there you go. All right. So now next, let's talk about the parent expectations. Okay. Well, let me go back. Parent expectations. Listen, just like your kids need to stay on top of these assignments, I say this to myself. Trust me, I'm talking to me as much as you. We have to be, as parents, have to be aware of what our student is and is not turning in. If stuff is late, we need to know that so we can say, hey, go turn that thing in. You know it's already late. And your job as parents is to be checking in on Google Classroom. You're already going to be guardians. So you'll get that guardian summary. But the expectation for the parents is that you know what your child is doing and where they are. Okay. You're going to know better than I am. Well, we're both going to know the same information. Okay. Also checking the work. And I talked about that. That's where that solutions manual becomes your tool to help your student see what they got wrong. Give them an opportunity to get a second look at their work before they submit it in. Okay. Also, as parents, I need you to encourage them to use their notes. And I didn't put this on there, but to take notes. If you're walking by and you see that they're not scribbling and Mrs. Kent is kind of waiting, maybe drinking her water, you can just say, are you taking notes? Now, I will say that, trust me, I'm on everybody. You taking notes, you write that down, but I need you to reinforce that on your end, okay? Also encourage them to use their notes. When they're doing their homework, when they're doing their tests, pull out the notes that tell you what the formula for the area of a circle is, or for the area of a triangle is, or for the area of a trapeze. Pull those notes out. And I need you to encourage them. Hey, you can use your notes. Go use your notes. Go use your book. Encourage your students to ask questions. Again, we can't help what we don't know. So they've got to ask. Yeah, they've got to ask. Okay. Also encourage that academic integrity. Again, that solutions manual, have it in your house, is going to be quite tempting, but you need to encourage them to engage to maintain academic integrity. Their work needs to be their work. Okay. All right. Let's move on. Summer prep. Here's some keys, some things out to help you. One, for this class, I do a summer prep. It's a 5-week class over the summer with independent topics taught during each 2-hour session. I got 2-hour sessions. Every session has a different thing. So if you don't need word problems because you are like knocking it out the park with word problems, don't go to one on the word problems. If you are killing it in geometry, don't go. But if you need geometry, make sure you're at the one in geometry. All right. So that in that case, it's a la carte. Yes, you sign up, but it's a la carte. And my dates and times are to be determined. I usually figure that out around April-ish because I need to get a feel for my summer and what it's looking like. Okay. That summer prep, I am going to do that on Zoom. I'm going to tell you that now. Again, that's the beauty. It opened me up. That means that I can actually go someplace with my family and still do my class when I need to do my class. So we're going to do that over Zoom. The study group, again, is another option for you during the year. That meets again on Tuesdays and Thursdays later in the afternoon. I'll determine that time. The goal for study group, answer any remaining questions that they may have, review the material that was just taught. Maybe they need, Miss K, can you to go over to one more question with that just so that I'm straight on that? Great. There'll be time during class, but then study group is also a great time to do that. Then, which all kids love this, some kids are like, they only do because they want to be able to do their homework. And that's fine by me. But then we work through homework together, right? So what that means is that, and we go, everybody is asked questions. I will also say in my class, everybody participates. There's no situation, there's no week that goes by that everybody is not asked at least a question that they've got to go through and answer. I am a firm believer in engaging the kids, having them do some talking, having them set up, and I prompt them. Okay, what's next? Okay, what do you do next? Okay, so what happens here? And because that gets them engaged and gets them learning, that gets them to experience that measure of success to let them know that they can do this work. So anyway, so in study group, we'll also go ahead and usually knock out, don't be surprised, especially in the early days, if we're knocking out a homework assignment, a homework lesson, or even two, and they come to you and say, Mom, I don't have any homework because I returned it in. They're not lying, because sometimes it's like that. Other times later on in the year, we may only get one done. Sometimes, especially later on in the year, later in the year, we may only get half of it done because there's just, the material is harder. It requires more intensity there. It just is what it is. Those for study group, it's month to month, $20 per month, do the first day of the month, and you come and go as you need. If you don't need it the first couple of months, don't participate. If something happens and you're like, oh, I kind of need this, get in there. I would say to you, better to get in earlier than later, because if you're in catch up trying to do study group, well, suffice to say. All right, now last thing, communication and contact information. Google Classroom is really how I'm going to communicate with the kids, in addition to like we're in class. But when they turn in their work, I'm going to write notes on their work. They may need a little, the joke is Mrs. Kent writes in tongues and needs an interpretation sometimes, but whatever. They'll say, Mrs. Kent, what does that mean again? Okay. Making sure, and this is where it comes down to making sure that your student is turning it in as a PDF, because with the PDF, if it's a JPEG, they're getting just a grade, no input, no nothing. So I really recommend they do a PDF or a Google Doc. So I'm writing on there and they're receiving back an edited version that has my notes in it, that has my, hey, you need to ask about this. But I may also say to them, I may also just write them a note. As I'm returning the grade, there's an option for me to put in a little note. And I may type in something like, hey, I need you next time to be asking me about surface area. Or I may say, I need you to ask about factoring, or factoring and canceling. They need to pay attention to those notes and then follow up in class, okay? Another way that I communicate is through GroupMe. I will set up a separate GroupMe specific to this class. Please make sure I have your cell number that's accurate. If you want your student to also be in GroupMe, that's great, because I'll have pictures, of the board, all of that in there. Also, texting, that is the best way to reach me. Listen, many of you know I wear a lot of different hats, okay? So if you're trying to get a hold of me, and especially the day of tutorial, the best and quickest way to reach me is to text me. If you're trying to email me, that's the last one. You can email me. Please feel free to send me an email, but please understand that I rarely check email before like the end of the day. And the end of the day for me is like sometimes 9, 10 o'clock. So text me. I'm usually available. If I'm in class, I'll say, I'm in class, talk to you later or whatever. But though that's how you can reach me. That's my contact information. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing now and go back. There you go. Hello now. All right. So again, thank you so much for your interest in my class. But please, I really need you to consider this is a rigorous class. I'm not trying to say, whatever, but I am trying to let you know, warning you in advance, this is a rigorous class. There's a lot of work in here. I do set the bar high for the kids. The great news is that when they have the proper foundation, they're able to reach that. I think that's about it. I think that's about it. My goal again is to help kids really enjoy math and see that they can do that, that it's fun and it's achievable, and that they're totally capable of doing it. And your kids are. Again, it always comes down to what was their foundation. And if we need to go back and build the foundation, then let's do that. Okay. So please take all of this into consideration. If you need to go back and rewatch this again, if you need to listen, if you're just the parent and you're watching this, I really recommend that you have your student watch this as well, because they're going to be able to give you feedback and go, Mom, or yes, okay, I can do this, or Mom, can we take a step back and, do her other class instead, whatever. But you know your children, you know your students, you know what's best going to meet their needs. So that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me, and I'll hopefully be able to answer any questions that weren't addressed here in this video. All right. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.